what is firmly embedded in my head is the golden rule. It sounds simple, but it's sort of this fundamental belief that you always treat other people as you want to be treated, and that's how I apply that to all my interactions, whether my neighbor or whether at work, professionally, and how I deal with others and networks and staff, and my relationships with others. I just really believe you give it, you get it back, and that seems to be coming home to roost for me in terms of what that's all about. And then my father had a secondary rule. I add to his golden rule, part B, as if you don't have anything good to say about someone, you don't say anything at all.
Right.
That was sort of a rule in our house,
yeah.
which I'm working with my children on right now, because they're at the age where the id and the ego and the superego don't always work. Like, what the hell doing? Went to a sleepover. They went to the latest Insurgent movie,
Right.
and Ashley was picking up from the sleepover on Saturday morning, and asked for hell in front of the family who took them to the movie and did the sleepover if she liked the movie. And she's 12 years old. She blurted out how much she hated the movie. We're going, well, I got to work on that. When you say things and when you don't, you don't. As the thank yous, oh, by the way, the movie sucked that you took us to last night. So we got a little work to do there. But I'm not. Although I'm certainly full of lots of religious values. And I work at, funny enough, in St. Stephen's Community House, which people think is a religious organization, which it was at one time, but is now non-sectarian. It's basically a community service agency where our values match somehow. And I've been there 28 years or so, and loved every minute of it. Reflecting a lot about how that happened, and some of it's kind of luck. Some of it is having a great public school education, and the big thing is somehow networking with other kids who are from your neighborhood who support each other to get to that point. When you're a working class or a poor kid, there's also you're fighting in a weird way your own neighbors, they kind of, and your own family, because they are trying to protect you in some ways. Not like it's goodwill hunting. I was not that smart, but just that it's easy to just slide back into your own community if you face any sort of failure or adversity. So if you're an erratic student like me, they say, it's okay. You can come back to the hood. You'll always get a job here. Even my father was very discouraging. Like, he would always message that we were not one of them, and even this idea that you had to be careful that you didn't step out of what you were, or your class, or so there's this sort of easy to fail outlet for you. I've been the outsider and been ostracized, and of course everyone thinks they're an outsider in high school, ironically, because we're all struggling with conformity.
Yeah.
But those who are really outside, even to this day, I have trouble walking by my reflection. I hate to see my reflection in the mirror. I hate to see my reflection in a window. I'm to this day scarred what my appearance is, probably because of all the abuse and teasing I took as a kid, and so that's something I deal. It's in there, and then all the name calling. Probably the two worst names I used to. Two are really horrifying. Me. These kids were calling me Warp in high school, so I'd have to walk down the hallway and have these kids call me that name.
Right.
So what happens is you either can recoil and hide, or you sort of develop communication skills of some mean, some not so mean, of deflecting onto others. So I have a sense of humor. The big question I've been really struggling with, and I know the answer to it now, is like cancer, was scoliosis a gift to me? Mm-hmm. And it was. One of my friends, John Burrett, who we just reconnected lately about how our experiences were so similar. John is working as a first-year apprentice as an electrician, which is a pretty good job. I'm working at a Dominion store after high school, not sure what the heck I'm going to do. My dad's perfectly fine. Grocery store paid well then before Conrad Black got a hold of the unions. And it was actually a February like this February, freezing cold. I remember it was a Wednesday. My job at the mini store, Wednesday was delivery day. That's when all the trucks come. Because in those days, everyone did their grocery shopping on weekends. And their groceries were Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sundays they were closed, right? In those days. So those were crazy days. So the deliveries came on Wednesday. So, but they just opened the back where I was unloading, it was the back of the grocery store, which is like a big warehouse. So I seemed like I think I even put overtime in that day, box after box, and the doors open, so it was minus 20 in there. That's how I spent my Wednesday. John told me it was him and two ex-cons who were on some sort of work program to try to give them work experience on a day pass. So he's already not sure who he's even working with, and we agreed to meet for beers. And that night after work, and we're going, well, we had just had a glimpse into our futures. A big glimpse of, we could be doing this 20 years from now, too, if we wanted to be.
I thought you meant ex-cons.
Or it could be the ex-con. That's also true. Got too tired of working, I could have started loading the boxes out of the back of the warehouse instead of loading them in, if I really got frustrated. But we got a little glimpse over beers, and we'd heard through our friends who decided to go to Trent right out of grade 13 that they were having an open house the next day. And we both agreed that we were going to phone in sick the next day and go to this open house at Trent University. And I remember the lecture too. It was an amazing lecture on the rise of fascism in Germany and what set up, this important, historical event in world history. And we're looking at this. The professor's very dynamic, and we looked. He said, "This is clearly not high school. I think I could get into this." And so we registered for that day. We immediately went to the registrar's office and put in an application so we could start school the next September. Living with two buddies at Christie and Bloor. Yeah, we were having a good life there. Play shinny in the night at Christie Pitts, or we go down to Albert's Hall and see Katie Lang play for free. Remember those days? This Katie Lang woman, let's go check her out. We'd walk down and, oh my God. I was working at Quaker, making good money, had a company car, wearing nice suits. I wasn't really happy. It wasn't really where I saw my life going. I don't know, right from then I still always wanted, I got more bang out of helping people than making money. That was just what was in there. And a good friend of mine, actually, again, her locker was next to mine in Peterborough, at Kenner Collegiate. She went to Mac, studied social work. And she called me up one day, how would you like to make a third of the money you're making and be abused by young offenders in Hamilton? And I said, sign me up. When do I start? I don't know what I was thinking. I was naive, idealistic, but I got to run my own program for 12 to 15-year-old. They used to call juvenile delinquents. So one day I do literacy, one day it might be sports, one day I teach them to cook, me teaching them to cook. That's one step up from the blind leading the blind. We learn to cook together, I guess. When you're looking at success rates, even if 5 to 10% of your clients don't end up going further down the system, which unfortunately a good chunk, despite all the good work we did, the society was just piling on so much, and given their age, and they were ending up there anyways. The worst was a kid named Rob, who was very violent, and we were playing baseball one night, and he tries to take a baseball bat to me during the game. I'm trying to keep it all together.
A baseball bat to you?
Yeah, he just lost his cool. A lot of these kids have trouble controlling their temper. One of the things I learned from this is that finding, even within your field, what you can handle and what you can't handle. So to go from that, I loved the job. It was a great experience, but I realized I couldn't work with offenders all the time. I couldn't see myself doing that for 30 years. There are some people who can, and there are people I work with who could. And I remember I had this older guy said, they all mature. Even the roughest criminal will get tired of doing crime. maybe 50 or maybe 70, but they eventually all stop. So you can feel it. So don't think that they don't stop at some point. He used to always say to me when I'd have these days, go, how do you do this? I can't, I've done all this work with him, and there he is doing B&Es all weekend. You know, we've been talking about this and why, other strategy, what it is, and but the other things were just too strong at that point in his life. And he said, well, maybe by 30 he'll stop, and just age will, or something bad will happen, will scare him out of it, or he'll end up in jail and realize he doesn't want to go back to jail anymore. Yeah. And so, you know, I didn't stay around to learn that, but I did learn that at that point that after 3 years were up, that I couldn't do that. So I was trying to figure out. Eventually, employment became the perfect thing for me. Like, you're helping people, but you also see success, which I needed to see some success to keep me going, or maybe I wouldn't be this positive, happy person. I used to tell my clients, you don't get pregnant or go to jail or get a lot of debt. You still have lots of flexibility to change what you do. And even if you actually do some of those things, even those are insurmountable. But when I message to young men and women, I say, you know, you can change your mind. You're lucky. We live in Canada where you can change your mind, actually many times, which I did. And you can undo mistakes. And we're all going to make them because you're young. The Leafs have, I call it the curse of my theories, that ever since they didn't get Bobby Orr. Yeah. You ever read the Stephen Brunt unauthorized Bobby Orr biography? No. Good book. Yeah. To me, he's my favorite sports writer. Yeah. And he tells the real story about how, of course, typical Leaf greed and arrogance. They let the greatest hockey player maybe ever, but certainly the greatest Ontario hockey player in the days where all Ontario hockey players were Leaf property. Yeah. Get through their fingertips. Only the Leaf. So the Red Sox had the curse of Bambino. I call it the curse of Bobby Orr, and they've been doomed ever since. And I don't know what I think I should write Stephen Brunt. What did the Red Sox do to break the curse?
Well, did Stephen Brunt call it the curse of?
No, I don't know, but I don't know if but he certainly talks around it. Yeah. That it all starts then. Yeah. Even pre Harold Ballard, the arrogance of this and just the stupidity. Yeah. Of the story goes way back, but it really starts then. That why Bobby Orr was not a Maple Leaf is a fundamental question to me. And I told my brother, you know, you don't want to do a eulogy. All you have to do is go to the podium and say, "The Leafs killed my brother." That could be your complete eulogy. But let's lay the cancer thing on the Leafs. Let's forget all the analysis, the bad luck. It's the Leafs' fault. Let's put another thing on top. Why not? Eh?
Maybe that'll break the curse.
That'll break the curse. Wouldn't that be great? They finally killed Randy. He was still a dedicated Leaf fan because he was old enough. He was 10 years old when his parents let him watch the whole game in 1967. Oh. And they won the cup. And it's in there and he can't get it out. So there you go. Lifelong Leaf fan. That's where it all ends and begins. Right?
I think you'd say, lifelong massive.
No, that builds resilience, doesn't it? Toronto people should be, poor Ryan's generation and my generation, they're going to be so resilient. That's where they're going to get from. They had to go through the whole thing.